It's time for your Low Country real estate market update. It's the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Brian is one of the top 1% real estate agents in Charleston. Find him online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. Now, broadcasting from the WTMA studios, here's your host, Brian Beatty.
Good morning, Charleston, and thanks for tuning in to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. I'm your host, Brian Beatty, and thanks for joining me this morning as we are getting close toward the tail end of 2015. Thank you very much for tuning in, spending the next hour with me as we talk about all things housing here in the Low Country. If this is your first time tuning into this program, I talk about all things real estate on this program. My job here is to inform you, the consumer, of housing so that when it comes time to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, you're an informed consumer. You know what to do, you know what's going on, and you've taken a little bit of an education from this program so that you're better suited to have success in housing, again, whether you're buying, selling, or investing in real estate. So if there's anything I can do for you personally, feel free to give me a call. I have a lot of people that listen to this program, and whether you have a general knowledge question or something I can help you with, real estate related, or you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, I'd love the opportunity to earn your business. I've been one of the top agents here in town for quite a while now, since 2009, I believe. And this year we'll do about 130 transactions as a team. So if there's anything I can do for you, please feel free to give me a call personally. My number is 843-345-1273. That's 843-345-1273. Or you can go to my website, which we just redesigned. So if you've been on there before, check it out. It looks really cool, I think. But that website is listingsincharleston.com. And on that site, you can look at everything for sale in the Charleston area. You can learn more about me and what I do to sell properties. And if you're thinking about selling, click on the Sell Your Home tab. You can learn more about what I do to market my properties for sale. And you can also learn more about my 59-day home sale guarantee, which very simply states I'll sell your home in less than 2 months, or I'll sell it for half my commission. So listingsincharleston.com is a website to go to. So let me give you guys an idea of what I want to talk about over the next hour. It's really kind of a well-rounded hour, in my opinion. Some of these shows I do are specifically geared towards sellers or buyers or investors. This next hour, we're going to talk about a little bit of everything, but I'm going to start with an ethical issue that I ran into, and I want to, part of what I do on this program is give you some insight into our industry so that you understand a little bit better how real estate agents operate. So I want to talk about a specific issue. And I kind of got into it with another real estate agent, so I'll go over that in just a minute. But a little later on in the program, we're going to talk about selling your house for sale by owner. We're going to talk about buying a house in a market where inventory is reduced. We're in a seller's market still. So we're going to talk about that, what you need to know. And we're also going to talk about investing in real estate. So we're going to talk about it all over the next hour. So let me start first with this issue that I ran into. And this is really important for you guys to understand because in our industry, I'd say in any sales industry, you're going to have people out there that are just sketchy. They're going to do whatever they need to do to make a sale. They're going to sacrifice their ethics and their professionalism to fill their own pockets. And I try not to, I do not believe in beating up real estate agents on this program. The only reason I go through things like this is to help you understand what's happening behind the scenes between some of these agents and how it can impact you. So let me tell you a little bit about the backstory of what happened here. I had an agent email me, and they were interested in my listing. Their buyer was interested in my listing, and they said, "Hey, Brian, I've got a client that's really interested in the listing. They'd like to know why it's been on the market for so long." Now, I had only had the listing for about 30 days. They were previously listed with another real estate agent for 6 months. So I took over the listing, applied my own marketing. We'd had several showings. We've had some things in the works. And this was quite a while ago. But 30 days into the contract, I get an email from this agent, and they say, "Why has it been on the market for so long? Why is the seller selling? What's their motivation? How flexible are they on their price?" And that's a very, there's some loaded questions there in that email. Things that if I were to answer, I would be compromising the bargaining power of my client. So I thought that I'd start this off by reading you something. This is directly from the agency disclosure brochure, which anytime you meet with a real estate agent and you have what's called substantive contact, you're having a discussion about real estate, and about the potential for representation with that real estate agent, they're supposed to provide you with this brochure and explain to you what it means to work with an agent either as a customer or as a client. So if you think about it this way, everybody is a customer. You become a client when you sign something called a buyer agency agreement or a listing agreement. That agent now specifically represents you. But all real estate agents are obligated to provide people with basic services. Those services are to present all offers in a timely manner, to account for earnest money and to be responsible with that, to provide you with an explanation of the scope of services they will provide, to be fair and honest and provide you with accurate information, and to disclose any adverse material facts about the property or the transaction that are within the licensee's knowledge. Now, this document, this disclosure brochure says something very specific. It's in bold, italicized letters, and it says this: unless or until you enter into a written agreement with the company for agency representation, you are considered a customer of the company, and the company will not act as your agent. As a customer, you should not expect the company or its licensees to promote your best interest or keep your bargaining information confidential. When you become a client, that's when you enter into a written agreement with that agent. They now represent you, and they offer things like obedience, loyalty, disclosure, confidentiality, accounting, reasonable care and skill, and then advice, counsel, and advice and negotiations. So that's what you get when you hire a real estate agent. If you're a buyer, you want to buy a house, it doesn't cost you anything because the commission's paid by the seller. If you're a seller, of course, you're paying the commission. You're hiring that agent to represent you throughout that transaction. So why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because of this email that I received. And so I've doctored this email up just a tiny, tiny bit so it's not verbatim what we discussed. But here's essentially the email that I received. So forgive me, but I'm going to read something to you. And I just want you to listen carefully, and this will only take a minute or two. The email says, Brian, I noticed you have 123 Main Street for sale, and I have some clients that are interested. I noticed it was previously listed for 6 months, and you've now had the listing for 30 days. Obviously, there's something wrong since it hasn't sold. Why do you think it hasn't sold? More importantly, why are they selling in the first place? I don't want to waste my time, or my client's time for that matter, on a property where the seller isn't motivated to sell. Are they seriously flexible on price? So that's the tone of the email. My response was, and we're just going to call this agent Tom. So I said, hi, Tom. Glad to hear you have a client interested in making an offer on our property. Please encourage them to do so the buyer and seller can begin negotiations. If you have any specific questions about the property, I'm happy to answer them or provide you with any additional information that you feel may assist your client in the process of making an offer, but I can't comment on their willingness or motivation to sell or what price they will accept. Please make an offer. His response was, Brian, as I mentioned, I don't want to waste my time. If the seller's motivated to sell, I need to know that so I can pass that information on to my client. They really like the house and they want to make an offer, but they need to feel as though they're getting a good deal before they move forward. Please do me a favor and send me this information so we can do a deal together. My response, Tom, I appreciate you putting information together for your client, but again, commenting on price or motivation to sell is not within my client's best interests. I'm sure you've had plenty of agents give you this information in the past, but I am not one of those agents. Let's focus on the fact that the buyer wants to buy the house because they like it and they want to own it, rather than any perceived blood in the water or because something might be wrong with the house, which there is nothing wrong. Make an offer so our clients can determine a mutually beneficial agreement. And so this is where things get a little dicey. This is his response. He says, Brian, let's cut to the chase. I know you and you know me. And while I don't sell as many homes as you do, I've been doing this for a long time. Just give me the info I need to sweeten the pot for my client, or we'll just go look somewhere else. So let's just summarize here. This agent doesn't want to waste his time writing up an offer, even though his client wants to buy the house. The agent is asking me to do things that compromise and violate the agreement that I have with my seller, because at the end of the day, people hire me to protect their bottom line. They hire me to be a professional and to get them the best terms and price possible on a house. So clearly the tone of the email is self-serving for the agent, not for the client. And so in telling you this story, it's very apparent that the agent is under some sort of false impression that he's in control. Well, guess what? If the buyer wants to buy this house, they're going to make an offer with or without him. This agent can't force this buyer not to make an offer. Now, I guess if they're sending me an email with this sort of a tone behind it that's unethical and unprofessional in nature, in my opinion, then he might go back to the buyer and say, well, blah, 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 let's just move on to another one because they're not interested in selling. And I don't know if that's the case or not. This agent might just be overstepping his bounds and trying to work too hard for the benefit of his client. But I'll tell you this. Back when I was selling homes to mostly buyers, this was several years ago, I would get information like this because I don't represent the seller and I don't care about protecting their bargaining power. I want to know everything I can to try and get my client as good a deal as possible. But the problem is this agent is asking questions that, although they're fairly standard in our industry, and agents are dumb enough to answer them because they think that they're being helpful, when in reality, they're just compromising the seller's ability to sell their home for the most money possible and at the best terms possible. And really, the bigger issue is the fact that the email has a threatening tone in it, stating that if I don't give him that information, he's going to tell his buyers to go look somewhere else. So I tell you this story to help you understand that in this industry, in most sales-based industries, there are always going to be people that are going to do whatever they need to do to make a sale. I have always operated my business with professionalism and integrity and with an eye on results because that's what my clients hire me to do. I have never, and I can say this with hand to God, I have never put myself ahead of a transaction for the sake of a commission. And it seems like that's what this agent is trying to do. So for me, when I tell you these stories like this, it's very challenging for you, if you were a seller, to interview somebody in such a way that would reveal to you what kind of agent this person is. Are they an ethical person? Are they a professional person? So I think that the best way to combat things like that is to ask for testimonials. Ask for testimonials from that agent for their most recent 3 transactions. Find out how that transaction went, really. Ask them the hard questions, their previous client, to determine whether or not you're getting in bed with the right person. And this industry that we're in, this real estate industry that we're in, although we do a fairly good job of policing it ourselves as agents, kind of ringing the bell when we see behavior like this, something else is happening in our industry right now that's very concerning to me. My listings right now are receiving phone calls. These are people that I actively represent that are on the market. They're receiving phone calls from real estate agents. They're saying, hey, how's it going with Brian? Are you happy with your realtor? What's the feedback been? Blah, blah, blah. They're basically positioning themselves to say, oh, well, I can do that better. Or, oh, that he did that incorrectly. You shouldn't work with him anymore. Let me tell you why I'm different. And that's a major issue in our industry right now, is these agents that are going out there and soliciting other agents' listings, telling the seller how bad the real estate agent is, lying to them, and then having that seller think that this new agent's going to do a better job. I would hope that anybody out there that receives a phone call like that would understand how unethical and unprofessional that is by its very nature and would not want to work with that person. But unfortunately, it happens. It happens with agents. It happens with sellers. I get it. It's not going to change dramatically. But I tell you this to help you understand that the good agents out there that really care about their business and care about their clients are not going to engage in this kind of damaging behavior, because at the end of the day, let's say that this house was listed for $300,000 and it said, hey, bring me $285 and we can get the deal done. This agent might be blowing smoke and their buyer's really serious and they offer us $292, but I've just taken $7,000 in equity away from you. How do you as a seller protect yourself through the interview process to make sure that the agent you're dealing with isn't going to pull these types of gimmicks and tricks just to make a commission and move on to the next person? I think you look at reviews, you look at testimonials, you ask them the difficult questions, and you trust your gut. If you don't get a good vibe from the agent, if you feel as though they're using puffery or they're just not a genuine person, then that should be a red flag to you. So trust your instincts when you're interviewing agents to make sure that the person you hire to represent you in this process is a trustworthy agent. So I just wanted to get through that story first because it was a very emotional email for me, because I hate it when things like this happen because it makes our industry look really bad. So protect yourself by becoming more knowledgeable about the interview process and know what to ask and when to ask it to make sure that you're protected. So stick around, because when we come back, we're going to talk about buyers. We're going to talk about buying a house in a market where there's very little inventory and there's a lot of buyers. It's called a seller's market. So stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. And remember to reach out to me if you have any questions or you want to hire me as your agent. 843-345-1273 or go to listingsincharleston.com.
More stimulating talk on real estate matters with Brian Beatty next on 1250 WTMA. WTMA. Now, the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues on Charleston's Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston, and thanks again for tuning in to the Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA, the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. I'm your host, Brian Beatty, and if you're just tuning in, we just talked about some ethical issues in real estate and some of the things that we as real estate agents face in our day-to-day practice of helping people buy and sell real estate. So if you've just missed that, feel free to go to my website, and at any point in time, you can listen to previous shows. You can learn more about me as an agent. If you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing, I encourage you to go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. And again, you can search every property for sale in the Charleston area. You can learn more about what I do to sell properties. And if you're thinking about selling your house, click on the Sell Your Home tab. You can learn more about my 59-day home sale guarantee at 4.5% commission, my communication guarantee, and of course, the marketing that I employ to help you get the best price for your house. Over the past 2 years, my average days on market is 39 days, selling properties for 98% of asking price. So if that's something you're interested in, again, listingsincharleston.com, or give me a call at 843-345-1273. So I want to switch gears here. I want to talk about buying a house in this market. And I want to just, a lot of real estate agents are going to paint a pretty picture with regard to the market and say that, yes, you can get a fantastic deal and now's a perfect time to buy and this, that, and the other. And we always focus on all the shiny, glittery things that emotionally connect with you whenever you're going to do something in real estate. But I want to be real with people that are considering buying a house. And this is tied into what's going on in our market specifically. I'm not going to talk about national statistics right now because, frankly, it doesn't matter. Okay? We're talking about Charleston and what's going on in our market. And if you're going to buy a house, what you need to know so that you have some realistic expectations about the process. So I just want to give you a generic market overview to kind of set the stage here for where we are this year. Let's talk first about just the volume of properties that have hit the market. If you look at the number of listings that we have had that are considered new listings to the market this year, and this is as of the end of October, okay, November stats aren't quite out yet. We still need a few more days to populate that data. But as of the end of October, we've had 19,345 properties hit the market. Same amount of time last year, we had 17,600. So we've seen about a 10% increase in new listings. Having said that, we have seen a 15% increase in closings, and we've seen a 20% increase in pending sales, properties that are under contract and getting ready to close. So when you take those three things and you combine them to determine the health of our market, it's very clear that we are selling more homes than we are putting on the market. We are slanting even more toward a seller's market right now. Obviously, with lower inventory and higher demand among buyers, that's what creates an increase in prices. That's what creates appreciation. And so far this year, prices are up about 5% over last year. Now, it's not the double-digit increase that we saw in 2014, and we saw very close to that in 2013. We've had a very rapid recovery over the past 24 to 30 months. Things are starting to slow down just a little bit, but not too much. It's still a very healthy market from a seller's standpoint. So as a buyer, what do you need to know? What do you need to know to be successful if you're going to buy a house right now? So if I may, let me just be very blunt with you so that you get a realistic approach into buying a property in this market. Number one, I would say that you need to separate your needs from your wants. And the reason I say this is in a competitive market, most buyers find they have to compromise on something, whether it be location or amenities or the condition of the home. It's easier to make a choice when you know going in which features you have that you'd be able to live without. So if that means, I absolutely need 4 bedrooms. I absolutely need 2 full bathrooms. I absolutely need 2,000 square feet. and I have 2 dogs. Well, if we create a search where the properties already have a fence, clearly we're excluding all of the properties that don't yet have a fence. Yet, if you have the ability to put one up, why not look at those properties as well? You might find that you find the property in the location with the upgrades and the condition that you're looking for, and all you need to do is install a fence. And then guess what? You negotiate with the seller for that expense. Everything is negotiable in real estate, and that's the great thing about it. So first thing I'll tell you is that you just need to separate your needs from your wants. Number 2, and again, this is just me being blunt, but it's a function of the market. It's not me. It's just what's going on. Don't expect to get a smoking hot deal. The days of getting a house at a huge discount, quite honestly, are long gone. Unless you find somebody before they've hit the market that are in dire straits that have to sell their house right now, you're going to pay retail pricing for that property. And that really, for the most part, applies to investors as well. Unless you find somebody in a specific situation where they have to sell now and they're willing to compromise price for speed of sale, then you're going to pay retail pricing for it. So it's very challenging for a buyer to feel as though they're getting the deal of the year. It's very, very hard to find the properties out there that are in good condition, that are priced well, that are marketed well, that you're going to get 10% below fair market value. It's almost impossible. I hate using that word, but it's very, very, very hard. The third thing I'll say is that you have to understand that no house is perfect. Making your offer contingent upon a home inspection is a good idea, but all homes have some defects, even new construction homes. And most sellers in this market aren't going to fix everything. And frankly, some sellers won't fix anything. In some cases, especially multiple offer scenarios where we're seeing that still very often, where you have let's say you have the winning contract and there were multiple bids. There's no harm in asking for repairs once you get to the point that you've had the inspection and you now have found some defects. But I'm just telling you right now, the seller is not going to be extremely motivated to fix everything on that inspection report because they know other buyers are out there and interested. Now, having said that, you do an inspection, you find out there's a hole in the roof. Well, every buyer's going to want that fixed. So I'm not talking about major defects here. I'm talking about all the nickel and dime stuff that an inspector is going to find and should find. That's what you're paying them for, to make sure you have a full understanding of the real condition of the home. But if you're asking the seller to, adjust every doorknob in the door or in the house and, touch up paint and trim the bushes so that they're 18 inches away from the side of the house, I mean, they're not going to give you the time of day on that. So understand that no house is perfect, and that if you do find a seller that's willing to make all of those repairs, which still happens every once in a while. I mean, buyers on my team or buyer agents on my team, whenever we get an inspection report, our process is very simple. And this is all, of course, with the permission of the client, but we send them a repair addendum that includes everything on the inspection report. And we say, hey, here's everything that was found. And just bringing this to your attention. So let us know what the seller says. Now, we're basically doing that with the understanding that we know the seller's not going to fix everything on that list. But the catch here is that when you send them that inspection report and the associated repair addendum, that seller now has actual knowledge of everything wrong with the house. And even if the deal doesn't work out, the seller now has to disclose those defects. So the next buyer that rolls around now has a real understanding of what's actually wrong with the house, and it might impact their offer. So that's why we do that. And it can sound as though we're putting a seller in a compromising position, but quite frankly, we're just telling them what's wrong with the house. So might as well work with us to get some of these repairs made rather than have to disclose everything that's wrong with the house to the next buyer. So that's why we do that. So just understand that no house is perfect, and it's very challenging to find a seller that's going to agree to fix everything. Identify on that report what's most important to you and determine whether or not you're willing to move forward if those things don't get fixed. You just have to put some sort of value on those repairs and how important they are to you. Obviously, the major ones, they need to be taken care of. But the little nickel and dime stuff, I think you can live without, in my personal opinion, in this market, if you're getting a good deal and you find a house that you love. So here's what you can do to position yourself to get a really good deal on the house that you buy in this type of market. Number one, you want to try and be, if you're getting a mortgage, you want to be approved for a mortgage. Now, I'll tell you a quick story. There are two different types of lenders out there right now. There are lenders that say, hey, we will provide you with a pre-qualification letter, meaning we will run your credit, and we might even ask that you provide us with financial documents to verify your income, but we're not going to take you through the underwriting process. We're not going to verify your bank statements to see if you have the down payment that you need. We're not going to, dig deep into your tax returns. All we need to know is if you have the credit to get a loan and how much money you make and what your expenses are to determine your debt to income ratio. So lenders are saying, hey, we're not going to take you through that underwriting process until you have a ratified contract. And this is true because I just dealt with this with a buyer agent. The buyer wanted to use a specific lender, and the lender said that to me, and I was like, this is crazy. The lender that I choose to work with, Movement Mortgage, will fully approve a buyer before they even buy a house. They'll look at their credit report, but they'll also collect tax returns, bank statements, anything else they need to say beyond the shadow of a doubt that if the buyer purchases a property in this price range, assuming nothing changes with their income, their expenses, or their credit, they can buy that home. It's almost as if they're a cash buyer. So that's the first thing you can do is make sure that you've gone through that underwriting process as far as you can go so that you look as strong as possible from a financial perspective to that potential seller. Number two, and this is tough for some buyers to hear, and it's still hard for us as agents because a lot of people, they can't help themselves, but they want to make a low offer first. It's so hard for real estate agents to say, we both know that the seller's not going to take that. But yeah, maybe we should just try. I mean, you never know. There's validity to that, but let me tell you why it's not necessarily a good idea to make a low ball offer first. The reason is it sets a bad tone for the rest of the negotiations. If you make a good offer the first time, even if you go back and forth a few times, you get to say to that seller, hey, we made you a realistic offer first, and we've increased our offer since then, and this is as high as we're going to go. Essentially, you're trying to call out the seller on their greed for more equity because they think that they're in control, when in reality, if you don't agree to buy their house, they're left with nothing, and you can go and buy something else. So it puts you, in a way, in the driver's seat to help them understand that, hey, we're serious about buying this house. We've made you a legitimate offer. Take it or leave it. Now, there's obviously some risk associated with that, and every buyer needs to determine at what price they're not willing to go above to buy that property, whether it be based on their financials or just be based on, what they're willing to pay for that house in comparison to the other properties that are out there. But if you make a good first offer, it helps you to be more hard-nosed later in the game. And then the last thing I'll say is that you've got to be ready to move fast. These people that are putting their properties on the market, that are working on the condition and staging, and they're doing things to their house to make sure it looks good when it hits the market, and it's priced well, and it's marketed well. There are plenty of agents out there that do a great job. Okay. When you've got that total package listing and it goes on the market, those things are selling in days. They are selling fast because there's a ton of buyers out there looking for properties like that. They just haven't found what they're looking for yet. So if you're one of those buyers where you are ready to buy something, you just haven't found what you're looking for yet, as soon as something like that hits the market and it's marketed well and it's attractive and the pictures look good and everything makes sense, you're going to go see it. But how quickly you go to see it will determine whether or not you get a shot at that listing, because there are all these buyers out there watching Zillow and Trulia and Realtor.com like hawks, waiting for those properties to hit the market. And as soon as they do, they're contacting the agent or the agent's contacting them and they say, hey, this looks good. This looks like something you might be interested in. We need to go see it like now. And when you do that and you make an offer, you avoid potentially a multiple offer situation. And then I'm going to say one final thing, and that is this. Don't buy a house that you don't love. And so we're talking about making some compromises here based on the trends within the market. And while most buyers are willing to do some sort of compromise, if you ever say to yourself, well, I guess I could make this work. Look, that's not the home for you. We can do better than that. So don't buy a house you love, because there's nothing worse than getting cold feet and being contractually obligated to buying a house, because you're going to have to spend money on an inspection. You might have to spend money on an appraisal, and then you've wasted a bunch of your time, and you feel as though you're a little emotionally scarred because you feel in a way almost duped. Like, how did I get to the point where I made an offer on this property when I knew that I didn't want to buy it? This was stupid of me. I should not have done this. you can't beat yourself over stuff like that. So just don't even take the chance. Find something that you love and then be prepared to make the best offer possible. So if there's anything I can do for you with regard to buying a house, you have some specific questions or needs that I can help you with, feel free to give me a call, 843-345-1273, or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Have a real estate question? Ask Brian Beatty. Send him an email, lowcountryhomesales@gmail.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show is on 1250 WTMA. 1250 WTMA. Expert news and views on the Low Country real estate scene. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston, and thanks again for tuning in to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. I always like to take a little bit of time every program and just say thank you for those of you that listen to this program and rely on it to help you become more knowledgeable about housing, whether it be the finance portion of it, general market knowledge, education, and the process associated with buying, selling, or investing. And I'll say this, I get a lot of calls during the week from people that listen to the program, and some have a need to buy, sell, or invest, or some just have general questions. You know, I helped a guy out last week and said, hey, I'm thinking about renovating my kitchen. I need some good contractors. Boom, sent him some people over, and he's in that process now. So if there's anything that I can do for you real estate related at all, whether it be just something simple like that, or you want to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, and we're going to sell 130 homes this year, and we're one of the top agents in town, so would love the opportunity to earn your business. So feel free to contact me. My number is 843-345-1273, or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com, and you can, of course, click on the Sell Your Home tab, learn more about my 59-day home sale guarantee at 4.5% commission. So listingsincharleston.com is the website. I want to switch gears here a little bit, and I want to talk about for sale by owners for just a few minutes. I've talked about them a lot on this program this year, and as more buyers enter the market and as inventory reduces, sellers get the idea that, hey, if there's a lack of inventory out there, maybe I can save some money here and sell this house myself. I can save 3 to 6% commission. So basically, you have to understand it this way. For sale by owners sell on their own for basically one of two reasons. Number one, they tried selling it through an agent and they just couldn't for whatever reason. Or number two, they want to save money on commission. Sometimes it's both. Most of the times, really, it's both. But as of right now, inventory is low, demand is high, prices are rising, and it sounds like a good time to sell and try for sale by owner. And in some instances, I agree. I had a conversation with a first-time home buyer that said, a first-time home seller, and he said, talk to me about for sale by owner. I just want to understand this more. Because if I can save some money, then I'd like to. Who wouldn't? So just give me the honest pitfalls with regard to doing something for sale by owner. Now, to give you a little backstory, this guy is in the military. He works from 8 a.m. until 6 p.m. during the week. He has to work every other weekend day. So he's hardly ever home. And so I'm helping him understand that, look, if you're going to sell a house for sale by owner, the first thing I'm going to tell you is that you better be prepared to work hard because it's not easy and it takes a lot of time. And the reason I say that is even before it goes on the market, you have to work on things like the condition and the staging of your home. That doesn't matter if you're a for sale by owner or if you're hiring me to sell your house. We're going to work on things to make sure it looks as good as possible. Aside from that, you have to do your research into the market. You have to understand what properties are selling for, what your competition is asking, market trends within your area. Are people offering closing costs? What percentage commission do buyer agents expect? So on and so forth. So from there, then of course, we have to do all the marketing. And as a for sale by owner, there's very little marketing that's affordable other than doing something like forsalebyowner.com or putting it on Zillow or Trulia or doing a flat fee on the MLS. All that does is create exposure. Now, some sellers will go the extra mile and they'll create a website for their house. And, I'll never forget this one person that told me early on in my career, because I was thinking about building a really nice website and it was going to be a lot of money for me at the time. I didn't have a lot of money. I started in real estate when I was 21 years old, fresh out of college. I'm thinking about building this website. It's about $5,000. And he said, look, you can build the prettiest website anyone has ever seen, but don't make the mistake of creating a billboard to nowhere. All these people are creating websites, but they're not focusing on driving traffic to it. And the same holds true if you take that concept and you think about for sale by owners. Putting a for sale by owner sign in the yard only catches the people that are driving by it. There's no outbound marketing there. So focusing on what you need to do to create exposure for your home and the way in which it appears online or in print or whatever you decide to do is a big deal. And it takes time and it's not free. So you have to be prepared to work hard on those three basic things, but you also have to be available for showings. If you work during the week and you're only available to show your property on Saturdays, you're going to lose buyers that don't want to deal with that. They want to see a property now. They're in a position to buy, and they're not just looking at your house. They're looking at 7 others that day. So you have to be prepared to do some work, and you have to also be the one that's going to do all the follow-up. You have to ask for the feedback. You have to understand why they're interested or why they're not interested, and then probe to try and find that sweet spot for something to say that clicks with them, to engage them emotionally, to have them make you an offer. So that's number one, is just be prepared to work hard. Number two is you have to educate yourself. You have to understand the contracts that you're going to sign and use throughout this process. And if you don't, I suggest hiring a real estate attorney. They're going to charge you $500, sometimes more, to take you through that process, or potentially not necessarily assist in negotiations, but help you understand what you're signing and what the buyer has been presenting to you. But you also have to know industry standards, like we talked about. What are properties selling for? What are people asking? What are the specifics that a buyer is going to be looking for in your price range? If you're a $200,000 home in Somerville, most people are going to want closing costs. Maybe it makes sense for you to offer that incentive right off the bat. And then the last thing that I'll say is that you have to have a plan for all the real estate agents out there. Real estate agents that represent buyers, they're going to expect a 3% commission. That's what they earn when they sell a property to a buyer. Now, when the buyer hires that real estate agent, that buyer doesn't pay that commission. The commission's paid by the seller, but there's not going to be an agent out there that's going to show your property if they're not going to make some money on it. They're just going to show other properties. Now, you as a for sale by owner can take that route and say, I'm not paying a commission to anybody, but you have to understand that 90% of real estate transactions happen with a real estate agent. So you're only catering to 10% of the market, and you're hoping that within that 10%, you're finding somebody ready, willing, and able to buy a house, and that are also pre-approved and that want to buy your specific home. It's a very small sample size. And then you also have to have a plan for all the real estate agents out there. They're going to call you all day long, knock on your door, send you letters, send you emails, find your cell phone through all these different services that companies are selling now, and badger you for the listing and say, hey, I have a buyer. When can I come by and take a look at it? Regardless of whether they have one or not. It's a foot in the door technique. So you have to have a plan in dealing with all of those agents, because I'm going to venture a guess and say that the majority of your showings, if you are paying an agent a commission, are going to be from agents that say they have a buyer, regardless of whether they do or not, so that they can meet you, find out more about your situation, and find out when you plan on hiring an agent if your for sale by owner doesn't go through. So you have to be really careful in the agents that you let through the door. And that's just a simple process of interviewing them, finding out more about their client. And if an agent comes by and they walk through your house and they don't really talk about anything about their client, they just talk about you, or they talk about themselves and everything they do to market their properties for sale, and guess what? That's a red flag. And, hopefully you can spot those types of things out. But for sale by owners are not a bad idea if you're protecting yourself, if you're knowledgeable about the market and the process, and you're priced right. So if you're thinking about doing for sale by owner, there are some things that I can offer you, some free services and some literature that I think is important for you to read up on. So feel free to contact me. Happy to provide you with that. No charge, no obligation. Go to listingsincharleston.com and put your information. I'll send that right over to you. I actually also have a bunch of videos that I can mail to you that I think are very helpful as well. So no strings attached there. Just want to make sure that you're protecting yourself. And of course, in the event you don't end up selling your home on your own, then give me a buzz and we can interview for the process of helping you sell your home. So listingsincharleston.com is the website. And of course, call me at 843-345-1273. One more segment as we come back and continue our conversation right here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show.
Find Brian Beatty online at listingsincharleston.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues next on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. Now, here's more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston, and thanks again for tuning in to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. I'm your host, Brian Beatty, and we've got just a few minutes left in the hour to talk about real estate. I've been a little long-winded this morning on some of the other topics that we've discussed. Ethics in real estate, buying a property in a seller's market, selling your home for sale by owner, and what to look out for so that you can arm yourself with the proper knowledge and education to do the best you can, to get the best price you can if you're going to sell on your own. So if there's anything I can do for you, you're thinking about hiring an agent to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, or if you just have a general knowledge question, something I can help you with, housing related, feel free to give me a call. My number is 843-345-1273, or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. You can learn more about me and search the MLS, of course, look at every property for sale in Charleston, and click on the Sell Your Home tab if you'd like to learn more about what I do to sell my properties, my 4.5% 59-day commission guarantee, and my communication guarantee, and all that fun stuff. So listingsincharleston.com is the website to go to if you want to reach me. Now, last few minutes here, I want to talk about investors. I've had a lot of people contact me this year that want to get into the real estate investment game. And I want to say first that if you're going to start flipping houses, flipping is not real estate investing. Flipping is speculation on the market. It's based on the assumption that prices are going up and that you can get a good enough deal on a piece of real estate to buy it, fix it up, and make a nice profit. I think it's really important when I have these initial conversations with investors, and it could be someone that, you know, hey, they do well in whatever job it is they have, and they've got some extra money and they want to put it to work. And real estate seems like a safe and fun play, and they've got a little bit of experience with it, so they want to give that a shot. There's a lot that we do when we first sit down to talk about expectations, and that might be one of the most used words that I use here on this program is expectations. But expectations to me mean education. It means helping you understand why things happen the way they do, so that we've got some realistic goals that we can achieve. Now, there are a bunch of investors out there that have left the market because they can't find the return on investment here locally that they need. We've had institutional investors here. I mean, I represented a guy. I don't anymore because he's not in our market anymore, but he was in Vegas flipping over 300 homes a year, and he hired me exclusively to be his agent to help him invest in real estate for buy and hold and then for flips. And he said, Brian, I can't do it. The market's too inflated. There are too many other investors out there paying stupid prices for housing, and it's diluting the market. I can't find the good deals. And so that's a really good question. How do you find those really good deals if you're an investor? Now, the best way is to look at the properties that need the most work. Obviously, the more work they need, more people are excluded because it requires a large sum of cash or for you to borrow extra money to fix the property up. And I've talked about that at length over the course of the past year with regard to different lending options that you have and how to get money from others to invest in real estate if you don't have it. So I'm not going to necessarily focus on that. But how do you find these deals? Well, you look at the ones that are in the worst condition, quite honestly. That's where you find the best deals. And regardless of whether they're on the market or not, those are the ones that the people don't want to touch because there's too much work there. But if you help the seller understand that there's too much work, then maybe there's an opportunity for you to get a good deal. You're looking for the ugliest house out there. Number two really is to find the property before it becomes publicly available. All the properties that are on the MLS are being sent out to all of these buyers and investors that are looking for this kind of stuff. And as soon as they hit the market, they are swarmed like a bunch of flies. I mean, really, it's very, very challenging to find good deals for the properties that are on the MLS. So I'll tell you one thing that I've done over the course of my career that I think is a nice benefit to buyers and investors is any seller that I have a conversation with that's not yet ready to sell, but that would entertain an offer, I keep them in a database. It's called pocket listings. So, hey, I'll sell, but I don't want to have my property on the market. I also, because we come into contact with 1,000 people or more a month that want to buy or sell real estate, we come across people that say, hey, I need to sell my house. Do you have an investor that can make me a quick offer? I just had this happen last week, and we set someone up, and it's a pretty sweet deal for that investor. I wish I had more cash. I'd do it myself, but I don't right now. So we maintain this database of people that want to sell, and it's ever changing because people buy, sell, they decide not to sell, whatever the case might be. But if you're thinking about investing in real estate, give me a call because I can give you access to that list. But I will tell you, and I'm just being honest with you, I don't give it to everybody because I can't dilute opportunities for my clients. If you want that list, really, I'm sorry, but you need to agree to work with me because it's my job to provide those benefits to my clients in addition to what's out there. So if that's of interest to you, feel free to call me, 843-345-1273, or go to listingsincharleston.com. I hope you've enjoyed this program. Sorry for the short last segment here, But anything I can do for you, feel free to contact me, 345-1273 or listingsincharleston.com. Have a great weekend, Charleston, and catch me Sundays at 10, Saturdays at 9 here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Join us for another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show next Saturday morning at 9 and Sunday morning at 10. Contact Brian Beatty online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. 843-345-1273.